Every night, across this country, millions of men lie awake in the dark, staring at the ceiling, not because they aren't tired, but because something that once felt automatic, something they never had to think about, has quietly stopped working the way it used to, and they are too ashamed to tell anyone. What I'm about to share with you has nothing to do with pills, nothing to do with injections, and nothing to do with some complicated program that costs you hundreds of dollars a month. It is a single ingredient, stirred into warm milk, taken before bed. And what it does to the male body overnight, specifically between the hours of midnight and 4 a.m., is something I have spent over 20 years in urology trying to explain to my patients in the simplest possible terms. Tonight, I'm going to explain it to you. Stay with me until the end, because the combinations I reveal in the second half of this video are what make this work twice as fast. And most men never learn about them. I want to speak to you honestly for a moment. Not as a doctor reciting statistics, but as someone who has sat across from thousands of men in my office over the past 2 decades. Men who built careers with these hands. Men who raised families. Men who were once the kind of strong that other people leaned on. And somewhere in their 60s, or their 70s, something began to change. Not all at once. That is the cruelest part. It happens so gradually that one morning you wake up and realize you cannot remember the last time you felt like yourself. The last time your body responded with confidence. The last time intimacy felt effortless rather than terrifying. You reach for the person who has loved you for 30, 40 years. And something inside you hesitates. Not because the desire is gone. The desire is still there. It burns quietly, like an ember that refuses to go out. But you are afraid. Afraid of failing. Afraid of the silence that follows. Afraid of seeing something shift behind her eyes that neither of you will speak about at breakfast. So you turn away. You pretend you're tired. You tell yourself tomorrow will be different. And tomorrow comes. And nothing is different. I want you to hear this clearly, from a urologist who has dedicated her career to men's health. You are not broken. What you are experiencing is not the inevitable price of aging. It is not weakness. It is not who you are becoming. It is a chemistry problem. And chemistry, unlike age, can be corrected. Type the number 1 in the comments right now if this is speaking to something you have been carrying quietly. You are not alone, and this video was made for you. My name is Dr. Mei Anderson. I am a board-certified urologist specializing in senior men's sexual health, and I have been practicing for over 20 years. In that time, I have treated men in their 60s, 70s, and 80s. Men who came to me convinced that the best years of their intimate lives were already behind them. Most of them were wrong. And what changed their lives was almost never a prescription. Here is what I have learned after 2 decades of this work. The male body, even at 80, has a remarkable capacity to restore itself when you give it the right conditions. The machinery is rarely broken. It is starved. It is working against the wrong chemistry. It is trying to build something it does not have the raw materials to build. What I am going to show you today is how to give it those materials, in the simplest, most affordable way possible, starting tonight. Before I tell you what the ingredient is, I need you to understand something that most men never learn. Not from their doctors, not from their health checkups, not from anywhere. Your body produces testosterone and restores nitric oxide. The 2 molecules most responsible for erection quality and sexual vitality, primarily at night. Not during the day. At night. Specifically during the deep sleep phases that occur between roughly midnight and 4 a.m. This means the hours you spend sleeping are not passive. They are the most hormonally active hours of your entire day. Your brain is sending signals to your testes. Your cells are repairing blood vessel walls. Your body is doing the work that makes a man feel like a man when he wakes up. Here is the problem. For most men over 60, that nighttime repair window has been quietly destroyed. Not by aging alone, by a combination of 4 forces that I call the hormonal dead zone. The first force is elevated cortisol at night. Stress hormones that should be low while you sleep stay dangerously high. And cortisol and testosterone are direct rivals. When one rises, the other falls. Every single time. The second force is blood sugar instability. An evening meal, a small dessert, a glass of juice, These spike insulin overnight. And insulin spikes shut down the hormonal pathways that produce and release testosterone while you sleep. The third force is what I call the binding problem. Most men over 60 are not actually testosterone deficient in total terms. The problem is that the testosterone they have is locked, trapped by a protein called SHBG, sex hormone binding globulin. It is present in the body but completely unavailable to use, like having money in a bank account you cannot access. The fourth force is collapsed nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is the molecule that opens penile arteries and allows blood to rush in with enough pressure for a strong, sustained erection. Its production declines by up to 60% in men over 50. Without it, it does not matter how much desire you feel. The physical response simply cannot follow. These four forces are working against you every single night. And what I am about to show you targets all four of them simultaneously, using one primary ingredient and a set of synergistic combinations that multiply its power while you sleep. Which brings me to why warm milk is not simply a folk remedy. Warm milk is a delivery vehicle, and it is a remarkably powerful one. Milk contains tryptophan, an amino acid that converts into serotonin, and serotonin into melatonin. Melatonin deepens sleep. Deeper sleep means a longer, more sustained testosterone production window overnight. The fat in whole milk, and this is critical, please use whole milk, acts as a carrier for fat-soluble compounds. The ingredient I am about to introduce cannot be fully absorbed without dietary fat. Whole milk fat delivers it directly into the bloodstream with far greater efficiency than water ever could. The casein protein in milk digests slowly, releasing gradually through the night and stabilizing blood sugar, which removes one of the four forces working against you before you have even added a single ingredient. And the warm temperature increases gastric absorption speed, getting the active compounds into your bloodstream within 30 to 40 minutes of drinking. So what is the ingredient? The ingredient is ashwagandha. Specifically, a high-quality ashwagandha root extract. And I will tell you exactly how much and what form in just a moment. Now, I know some of you have heard this name before, and some of you may have even tried it and felt nothing. I need you to understand why, because it is almost certainly not about the ashwagandha itself. It is about when you took it, what you took it with, and what form it was in. Most men take ashwagandha in the morning with water. That is the wrong time, the wrong vehicle, and likely the wrong form. Let me explain what it actually does at a biological level, so you understand why nighttime delivery in warm milk changes everything. Ashwagandha contains a family of compounds called withanolides. These compounds work on the body's hormonal system in three specific ways that are directly relevant to erection quality, sexual stamina, and vitality in men over 60. First, it is one of the most clinically validated natural cortisol reducers in existence. A double-blind, placebo-controlled study published in the Journal of the International Society of Sports Nutrition found that men taking ashwagandha root extract experienced a 30% reduction in serum cortisol over 8 weeks. Remember, lower cortisol means testosterone rises naturally, because the two are in constant competition. Remove the competitor, and testosterone climbs without any artificial intervention. Second, multiple clinical trials on men experiencing age-related testosterone decline showed that ashwagandha supplementation raised free testosterone levels. Not total, but free, usable testosterone, by between 15 and 22%. Not in 6 months. In 8 to 12 weeks. Third, and this is the piece that most discussions about ashwagandha completely miss, it directly supports nitric oxide production in the vascular endothelium, the cells lining your blood vessels. This means more blood flow, wider arteries, more pressure, stronger, fuller, longer-lasting erections. When you take ashwagandha in warm whole milk 45 minutes before sleep, the milk fat carries the withanolides into your bloodstream efficiently. The tryptophan deepens your sleep. And in that deep sleep state, with cortisol suppressed and free testosterone rising, your body enters what I describe to my patients as the midnight rebuild window. This is when men begin to notice things they haven't felt in years. Morning firmness returning. The biological sign that your vascular and hormonal systems are healing. Stronger response when the moment arises. A settled, grounded energy the next day that is not caffeine-driven. It is hormonal. I had a patient, 73 years old, retired, had been quietly withdrawing from his marriage for 2 years because he was too proud to tell his wife what was happening. He came to my office as a last resort. Within 3 weeks of this nighttime ritual, he came back looking like a different man. He didn't say much. He just looked at me and said, "I forgot what it felt like to feel like myself." That is what this does. It does not create something artificial. It unlocks what was already there. Now, this is the part of the video that most people making content like this leave out, because the ashwagandha in warm milk is powerful on its own. But what you combine it with, and the specific sequence, is what separates good results from results that men describe as extraordinary. I call this the nighttime synergy stack. 5 combinations, each one targeting a different piece of the hormonal dead zone. Together, they create a compounding effect that turns a simple bedtime drink into the most productive 30 minutes your body will have all day. Let me walk you through each one. The first combination is ashwagandha and Ceylon cinnamon. I call this the testosterone protector. Ceylon cinnamon is one of the most powerful natural tools for stabilizing blood sugar overnight. Here is why that matters more than most men realize. When you eat dinner, even a healthy dinner, your blood sugar rises over the following 3 to 4 hours. By 11 at night, midnight, insulin levels are often still elevated. And elevated insulin directly suppresses testosterone production in the testes. Your body is trying to produce testosterone while you sleep, and insulin keeps slamming the door shut. Cinnamon contains a compound called MHCP that mimics insulin in the muscle cells, stabilizing glucose without triggering a full insulin response. Blood sugar flattens. The hormonal pathway stays open all night. The synergy here is precise. Ashwagandha raises free testosterone. Cinnamon ensures that testosterone is not suppressed 3 hours later by an insulin spike. One builds, the other protects. One important note, use Ceylon cinnamon specifically, not cassia cinnamon. Cassia contains coumarin, which at daily doses can stress the liver over time. Ceylon is the safe, effective choice. A 1/4 teaspoon is all you need. The second combination is ashwagandha and raw honey. I call this the testosterone unlocker. Earlier I mentioned the binding problem. The fact that most men over 60 have testosterone in their body that they simply cannot access because it is trapped by SHBG. Raw honey, not processed honey, raw and unfiltered, contains a mineral called boron. And boron is one of the only naturally occurring compounds that disrupts this binding. Research published in the journal Integrative Medicine found that even a modest daily boron intake measurably reduced SHBG levels, freeing up testosterone that was already there, and making it available to the muscles, the brain, and the sexual organs. One study found free testosterone levels increased by nearly 30% after just 1 week of consistent boron intake. Let that settle for a moment. You may already have testosterone in your body right now. You simply cannot reach it. Raw honey begins unlocking that door. And paired with ashwagandha, which is simultaneously increasing production and reducing cortisol, you are hitting the problem from 2 directions at once. Ashwagandha builds testosterone. Raw honey frees it. Use 1 teaspoon of raw honey, stirred in after the milk has cooled slightly, because heat above a certain temperature degrades the boron content. Stir it in when the drink is warm, not hot. The third combination is ashwagandha and nutmeg. I call this the deep sleep amplifier. This one surprises my patients every single time. But the mechanism is straightforward once you understand it. Nutmeg contains a compound called myristicin, which has mild sedative and sleep-deepening properties that specifically extend the duration of slow-wave sleep, the exact phase during which testosterone synthesis peaks. Think about it this way. If testosterone is built during deep sleep, then the longer your body spends in deep sleep, the more testosterone it can produce. Nutmeg extends that window. The synergy with ashwagandha is temporal. Ashwagandha creates the hormonal conditions for testosterone production. Nutmeg extends the sleep phase where that production actually happens. More time in the right state means more output. I need to be very clear about the dose here. A pinch. A very small pinch. less than 1/8 of a teaspoon. At that dose, nutmeg is safe, effective, and beneficial. At high doses, nutmeg can cause nausea and dizziness. This is one ingredient where more is absolutely not better. One small pinch. That is your dose. Respect that boundary, and this becomes one of the most elegant additions to the entire stack. The fourth combination is ashwagandha and ginger. I call this the circulation and cellular repair engine. This combination is where the physical results become undeniable. Ginger contains active compounds called gingerols and showgales. These compounds do 3 things that are directly relevant to erection quality and sexual performance. First, they are among the most potent natural anti-inflammatories available. Chronic inflammation in the tissues surrounding the testes, the Leydig cells specifically, which are responsible for testosterone production, physically damages those cells over time. Ginger calms that inflammation and allows those cells to recover and function more efficiently. Second, a clinical study on men with fertility challenges found that regular ginger supplementation raised testosterone levels by 17% over 3 months, through measurable increases in Leydig cell activity. Third, and this is where erection quality specifically improves, ginger enhances blood flow to the pelvic region. It dilates the small arteries that supply the penis. Combined with ashwagandha's nitric oxide support, you are increasing both the signal to dilate and the capacity of the vessels doing the dilating. When men tell me their erections feel fuller, more pressurized, more like what they remember from 20 or 30 years ago, ginger is almost always part of the protocol they are following. Use half a teaspoon of fresh grated ginger, or a 1/4 teaspoon of high-quality ginger powder, added directly to the warm milk mixture. The fifth combination is what ties everything together, and most men skip it, which is a significant mistake. It is black pepper, specifically the piperine compound inside it. Piperine inhibits certain liver and intestinal enzymes that would otherwise metabolize and eliminate the active compounds in your drink before they can reach the bloodstream. The practical effect is that it dramatically increases the bioavailability of everything else you have added. The withanolides from ashwagandha, the gingerols, the boron from honey, the compounds in cinnamon. Research on piperine has shown it can increase the bioavailability of specific compounds by extraordinary margins. What this means in practical terms is that without black pepper, a significant portion of everything you have carefully prepared passes through your system largely unused. With just 2 or 3 grinds of black pepper, you unlock the full potential of every other ingredient in the glass. This is not an optional addition. This is the compound that makes the entire stack work at full capacity. Skip it, and you are leaving the majority of your results on the table. I want to hear from you right now. Drop a comment below and tell me, which of these combinations surprised you most? I personally read through every comment on this channel, and your question may very well become my next video. Let me talk about what men actually experience when they follow this protocol consistently. Not in clinical terms, in human terms, because the results are not just physical, and that is the part that no one ever talks about. The first thing most men notice is morning erections returning. Within the first 7 to 10 days, many men wake up to something they have not felt in years. Spontaneous morning firmness. I need you to understand what that means medically, because it is not simply a pleasant surprise. Morning erections are a direct biomarker of vascular and hormonal health. They happen during REM sleep, when nitric oxide production peaks and the penile arteries dilate automatically. When they return, it means your body is healing at the level that matters most, the blood vessels and the hormonal signals that govern them. It is not just a physical sensation. It is a message from your own body saying, I am working again. The second effect is erection quality and hardness. Not just the ability to achieve an erection, but the quality of it. The fullness, the pressure, the confidence that once it begins, it will not abandon you at the wrong moment. Men describe this as a return to reliability, not performing, not hoping, trusting their own body again. The third effect is desire returning naturally, not forced, not manufactured, organic. As free testosterone rises and cortisol falls, the dopamine pathways that govern desire begin functioning the way they were designed to. Men describe waking up and feeling that quiet pull toward intimacy that they had simply stopped expecting. The fourth effect is stamina and endurance. Improved circulation means better oxygen delivery to every muscle. Reduced cortisol means the body does not fatigue as quickly. Men report longer, more satisfying encounters. Not because they are trying harder, but because their body is no longer fighting against them. The fifth effect is confidence and mental clarity. Testosterone does not just govern the bedroom. It governs the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for decisiveness, focus, and the quiet assurance that a man carries when he feels like himself. Men on this protocol describe thinking more sharply, walking differently, feeling like their presence in a room has a weight to it again. These are not imagined changes. They are the neurological result of testosterone reaching the brain the way it is supposed to. And the sixth effect, the one that matters most of all, is that the relationship heals. Men tell me their partners noticed before they said anything. A shift in how they carried themselves. The way they reached without hesitation. The return of closeness that distance and shame had been slowly eroding for years. One of my patients, 78 years old, brought his wife to a follow-up appointment. She sat beside him, took his hand and said simply, "I got my husband back." That is what this does. At its deepest level, that is what this is truly about. Let me give you the exact protocol now. Write this down if you can. Begin 45 to 60 minutes before your intended bedtime. Warm 250 milliliters of whole milk, not plant milk, whole dairy milk. The fat content is functional, not optional. Warm it to the temperature of a comfortable bath, not boiling. Then add 500 milligrams of ashwagandha root extract. Look specifically for a product that says KSM 66 or Sensoril on the label. These are the clinically studied, standardized extracts used in the research I referenced. Generic ashwagandha powder can contain inconsistent with phenolide concentrations and may not deliver the same results. Add half a teaspoon of fresh grated ginger or a quarter teaspoon of high-quality ginger powder. Add a quarter teaspoon of Ceylon cinnamon. Check the label to confirm it says Ceylon specifically. Add one very small pinch of nutmeg. Use your thumb and forefinger. Err on the side of less. Add 2 to 3 grinds of black pepper directly into the mixture. Stir everything thoroughly. Then allow it to cool for 2 minutes before adding 1 level teaspoon of raw, unfiltered honey. Stir again gently. Do not add the honey while the milk is still too hot, or you will degrade the boron content that makes it effective. Then sit down and drink it slowly. This is not something to rush. Let it be a deliberate signal to your body that the day is ending and the repair work is beginning. Your body responds to ritual more than most people realize. A few things to avoid. Do not combine this with alcohol on the same evening. Alcohol acutely raises cortisol and directly suppresses testosterone. It will work against everything you have just put in. Do not use antibacterial mouthwash immediately before or after this drink. The oral bacteria that begin nitrate conversion reside in your mouth, and killing them blunts a meaningful portion of the circulatory benefit. Move your mouthwash routine to the morning. And do not pair this with a high-sugar late-night snack. Blood sugar instability is one of the 4 forces working against your hormones at night. Do not recreate the problem you are trying to solve. Give this 30 nights. Your body did not change in a week. It will not fully reverse in a week. Most men begin noticing shifts between night 7 and 14. By night 30, the changes become consistent, measurable, and in many cases genuinely transformative. I know what some of you are thinking right now, because I have heard it across the desk in my office many times. You've tried things before and nothing worked. I understand that completely. What you tried was likely one isolated ingredient, taken at the wrong time, in the wrong vehicle, without the synergistic compounds that make it bioavailable and effective. What I have described tonight is not a single ingredient. It is a stack system. And systems produce fundamentally different results than anything in isolation ever could. Or perhaps you believe you are too old for your body to respond. In 20 years of urology, I have never met a man whose body had completely stopped responding. What I have met are bodies that were severely under-resourced, operating in a hormonal environment that made recovery nearly impossible, Until that environment changed. The research on ashwagandha includes men in their 70s and 80s. Age is not the disqualifier you believe it to be. Or maybe it simply sounds too easy. Too simple to actually work. And to that I would say, simple is not the same as weak. The male hormonal system does not require complexity. It requires specific inputs. Remove the forces blocking it. Add the building blocks it is missing. Give it time and the right conditions to do what it was always designed to do. The explanation takes 20 minutes. The ritual itself takes 5. Before I let you go, I want to say something that has nothing to do with biology. You came to this video looking for something. Maybe it was information. Maybe it was hope. Maybe it was proof that you do not have to accept the version of yourself that aging has been quietly proposing for the last several years. I want you to hear this from someone who has spent 2 decades sitting across from men in exactly your position. You were never as far gone as you believed. The shame you carried. The silence you kept. The moments you turned away instead of reaching toward the person you love. None of that was weakness. It was a body that had been given the wrong environment for too long. And environments can change. Your hormone centers are still listening. Your blood vessels still want to open. Your cells still respond when given the right signal. The machinery was never broken. It was waiting. Tonight, not tomorrow, not after you have thought about it more. Tonight, try this. Make the drink. Make it slowly, deliberately, and with the intention of giving your body what it has been asking for. And for the next 30 nights, stay consistent. Then come back to this video and leave a comment. Tell me what changed. Tell me what returned. Tell me what you noticed on the morning when something you had stopped expecting quietly came back. Your comment will not just be for me. It will be read by another man who is exactly where you were when he first clicked on this video. A man who needs to know this is not too late. That this works. That he is not alone. If this video gave you something tonight, a single piece of hope, a single reason to try, please press the like button right now. It takes 1 second, and it tells YouTube that this message deserves to reach more men who need it. Subscribe to Vital Health Seniors and ring that notification bell. I release a new video every single week specifically for men navigating their health after 60. And what I'm covering next is directly connected to what we discussed today. And it is something that will genuinely surprise you. And if you have a brother, a friend, a son-in-law, any man in your life who has gone quiet about this, share this video with him tonight. You may be handing him exactly the thing he needed, but was too proud to go looking for himself. This is Dr. Mei Anderson, from Vital Health Seniors. The man you used to be is not gone. He has simply been waiting for the right conditions to return. Give him tonight.